Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 644 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So I want you to go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I received training many, many years ago at a place called the Sexual Assault Center in Nashville, Tennessee. And I realized that therapy exists in so many different varieties. They were including things like play therapy, theraplay, sand play, art therapy, cognitive processing therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, internal family systems, somatic experiencing, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and even trust-based relational intervention. So there are a million different types of therapies out there. And today we are going to learn much more about art therapy, something that I think is going to be very new and interesting for our listeners. Lindsey Jonin is a licensed counselor, a licensed and board certified art therapist, a speaker, trainer, and an artist. She is the founder of two businesses. The first one is called Lily Counseling and Art Therapy, which supports individuals in New Jersey and Florida navigating anxiety, life transitions, stress, and emotional overwhelm through talk therapy, art therapy, and somatic practices. She also provides continuing education trainings for mental health professionals. Her second business is called Abstract and Aligned. It offers presentations and experiential workshops for businesses and organizations, helping teams and leaders to strengthen emotional intelligence and lead with greater clarity, creativity, and connection so they can truly thrive. Lindsey also facilitates creative workshops within communities, collaborating with organizations to foster visual expression and connection. There are virtual art workshops that are offered to adults anywhere, too. She is a passionate advocate for the arts and believes that creativity is not a talent reserved for a few people, but a capacity that lives inside of everyone. Lindsey views engaging in creativity as a way to reconnect with ourselves, support stress regulation, and help people approach challenges with flexibility and problem solving while deepening self awareness and human connection. Welcome to the show, Lindsey.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Of course. Listen, you are welcome on the show anytime because we can talk about mental health and some of the problems that we see on college campuses, whether it be anxiety or depression. I mean, these things are real issues that we need to talk about more. So I am happy to have you on the show. And I kind of looked into your background a little bit. I noticed that you decided on Caldwell University in New Jersey. I'm wondering, why did you choose Caldwell?
Yeah, so Caldwell is a great school. It's very small, but I wanted to go there because it's specific in art therapy and counseling. A lot of schools don't really tap into the art therapy realm because it is not as common as we'll say psychiatry or simply just going for counseling.
Mhm.
So I wanted a college that was specialized in art therapy. And Caldwell is beautiful too because you have both platforms here. You can go for counseling and also have that art therapy piece there. So it led me to a great direction to now be licensed in both areas. So it's a great goal.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, that makes a lot of sense now. Well, I'm glad that I asked. That now I know where to go for art therapy. I think
Yeah.
that's really
Yes.
good. And you've obviously built a very successful career, and I think it lives at this intersection of mental health, creativity, and leadership. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering what first drew you into art therapy and counseling.
So I learned about art therapy in high school. I was in the art room all the time. I'm someone who's naturally into art, into creativity, and I'm sure you can even think of when you were a young kid of really being playful, creative, getting into all of these types of artsy activities. And I hear that a lot of people as they age, they kind of age out of that, we'll say. So for me, I did not, and I'm very grateful to not have aged out of that. And I learned about art therapy in this class, and it kind of opened up my eyes of, oh my gosh, I can help people and bring in that art piece too. And I've always been somebody who's a big feeler. I would see myself as a caretaker when I was younger, just trying to support all of these people. So when I learned about art therapy, it really just blew up my mind here of, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So I started looking into it more. I do want to share, maybe your listeners can relate to this at all. I did not go to Caldwell right after high school. I went to a county college first because I was still, even though I knew back in my head, hey, I really want to go into art therapy counseling, I still had that uncertainty, which I'm sure listeners can relate to that of, oh my gosh, this pressure of what do I do? So I went to county college first, and that helped me reflect a little bit more and dive into this idea of I can be an art therapist, I can be a counselor. So it felt natural to me, and I'm still very grateful I'm in this field. I think it was just very fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since then. Hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in the right place for sure. And you've worked across so many different settings. You've been in clinical supervision and you've gone obviously all the way to entrepreneurship. So, how has that journey shaped your perspective on student mental health?
Oh my gosh, there's so much pressure when it comes to being a student, right? Let alone just your our own experience, right, of being a student and everything. But I'm fortunate because I see different perspectives. I work with interns, like I supervise them and everything. So I'm working with them. I'm working with clients that are students. I'm working in the community with students. So I see a lot of pressure in all aspects here. So I think we need to really meet them where they're at instead of this assuming or expecting them to be a certain level. So I would say really giving them a space that they feel seen, they feel valued and supported and also connected. So, and just helping them through that pressure, just trying to balance everything. It's a lot. So just having that acknowledgement of, hey, you guys are going through a lot here, right? And there are supports out there for you. You just need to reach out.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with that. Now, all of the fraternity and sorority members that we work with on a weekly basis on college campuses across the country, they all fit into this mold of very high achieving student leaders. They are book solid, throughout the day, and they want to be involved in everything. But then that leads to anxiety. It leads to burnout very often and also this perfectionism. They're really scared of making mistakes. So how
Mhm.
do all of these things show up specifically in these high achieving student leaders?
Yeah, I'll say that anxiety, perfectionism, and burnout, I would say is kind of this like tier. They kind of are encompassing here, right? So we have this anxiety because we want to make sure we're perfect. Sometimes we put ourselves on this pedestal that is way too high to achieve because, again, with these high achievers, they want that success at all times, right? Ignoring everything else. And what's that going to do? It's typically going to lead to crashing and burning, right? With that burnout. So it's this idea of, oh my gosh, I need to be perfect. I need to be 100% all the time when that is not sustainable. So I come from a place where I do not believe in perfectionism. We are humans, we are imperfect beings. We make mistakes and that's how we grow. So just encouraging these folks to give themselves that grace, right? To mistakes, to make mistakes, to grow, because that's really where life happens and we can move forward from that. But with this, I often say it's not about striving for perfection. It's about working through progress and practice, right? And then that way we can lead towards these healthy actions and setting ourselves up for success. So it can be a lot to carry, right? Especially being high achieving. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Now, I mean, you mentioned just asking for help before,
Mhm.
but I think right today, so many students really struggle to ask for help, even though they have a ton of resources that are available on every college campus. All the college campuses have a counseling center, but not everybody goes to the counseling center because of stigma, because it makes it, look like they're broken somehow if they're
Yeah.
hanging out there. So why are students struggling to ask for help?
hmm I'd say exactly what you said, right? Of this stigma, of this concern of only broken people go, right? Something needs to be wrong with me in order to go, all of that. Whereas, hey, if I could encourage everyone to get into therapy, I would. I tell that to as many people as I can. It does not mean you're at like flat bottom, right? It just means, hey, we all need support. We need some connection. But it just seems, even though it's becoming more normalized, which I'm happy to hear, it still is uncomfortable asking. And even maybe going to that high achiever role, it might feel like, well, I'm not being good enough, right? If I ask, right? Then I'm not really doing what I need to do for myself and everything, when really it is doing something for yourself by asking for help, by going into therapy and finding the right therapist for you. Because not everyone is going to be the best fit for us. So I encourage listeners, hey, reach out. I know there is that fear of the unknown if you've never done it before, or maybe you didn't have the best experience. There's a therapist out there for everyone. And it's also finding the right modality for you too, right? I know in the beginning you were talking about different modalities out there.
Mhm.
Just finding someone who speaks to you, right? And is able to give you that support.
hmm So, speaking of something that speaks to you, we talked about all these different types of therapies that are out there, and I think a lot of students might not be familiar with art therapy in particular. So, talk to us about that. How does it work? Why is it so powerful?
Oh my gosh. I love it, right? I love it. That's why I'm in it. So with art therapy, you're utilizing art materials as the tools within session. So we can create different prompts, right? Different directives or different exercises, I'll say, that we can encourage clients to get into. And with art therapy, it's with a trained, certified, licensed art therapist to guide you in that process. So art can just naturally be therapeutic. And by tapping into it, it can unravel some things that maybe have been hidden in there, right? That talk therapy might not be able to unravel as quickly or as deeply, we can say. So with art therapy, you do not need to be an artist. You do not need to identify as a creative, even though, hey, I do believe everyone is creative. But I've heard it all with people saying, Lindsay, I can't even draw a stick figure. I can't do this, can't do that. We start simple, right? Just starting with a mark and seeing what happens. But simplifying it, it's just bringing in art materials relating to the symptoms, the treatment, and where we're at, meeting where the client is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when I think of therapy, and probably most students would agree with me, they think of the couch, right? Talk therapy. I'm
Mhm.
sitting on the couch and I'm just talking about my issues with somebody who's a
Yeah.
trained professional. So why do you believe that creative expression sometimes will reach people when that traditional talk therapy can't?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about with that couch and everything, right? So sometimes words don't feel enough. And
Mhm.
sometimes we're stumbling over our words too. Maybe it's like, that feeling as if these words are not justifying or don't feel accurate enough for what I was feeling in that moment. So when we can tie art into it as well, it just adds another layer, right? Now it gets more visual. And I would say for me, I'm a very visual person. Not sure if you are or not,
Mhm.
but it can be very cathartic just to let it out in that way too. So I'm a big believer in our feelings, traumas held within the body. So with art therapy, we can also use our body as we're creating. We can stand up, we can lay down, whatever, right? So just allowing another process to unload or get into a different layer of those thoughts and feelings out. So it can be really a really beautiful thing. And yeah, it can be grounding too, just creating some art. Yeah.
Hmm. That's very helpful. Now, a lot of the college students that I'm talking to, I'm telling you, they are completely burnt out. And so, knowing that, you talk about sustainable systems that will prevent burnout from even happening. What does that actually look like in real life?
Hmm. So I would say it's healthy action every day. It does not mean we're making leaps and bounds, right? Small steps matter. So I talk a lot about this in various presentations. So I'll give you a bit of a nugget that can be simple to remember. So I like an ABC framework that I kind of like thought of awareness, boundaries, and compassion. So checking in with ourselves is that awareness, right? Checking in my basic biological needs. Am I hydrating? Am I eating enough? I see this a lot with college students. They're not doing either of those, right?
Hmm.
What's that going to
Hmm.
do? Not going to make us feel great. With boundaries, especially with high achievers, are we just saying yes to every single thing and causing that burnout right there of like, no, I need to make sure I'm at this event. I need to make sure I have this conversation with this person. It's okay to say no sometimes, right? And going into compassion, giving ourselves that grace to say no, to allow that rest. Rest is productive. Sometimes we feel like it's not, right? But it is. And just making those small steps along the way, doing something enjoyable before the day ends. Doesn't mean you need to do it for 2 hours, but just a few minutes a day. What could be something that can kind of cheer you up a little bit? Right. So
Hmm.
just those small habits every day and just checking in.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about you is you have these two businesses. You have the clinical practice
Mhm.
and you have separately this creative platform. So I'm wondering what inspired you to build two very distinct businesses here?
Yeah, so I wanted to separate it because with Lily counseling and art therapy, it is that clinical practice, right? Where I'm working one-on-one with clients, focusing on diagnoses, symptoms, treatment plans, and everything. And then I started hearing and seeing that some clients and some community members were feeling really isolated, and there weren't as many events that were going on, especially creative events too for adults. So then I started thinking, oh, I have great experience with working with groups and working with communities. Why not I create this other hub where I do wellness workshops, right? Virtually or in person. I bring in that creative piece. I bring in presentations where I bring in that knowledge, right, of the mental health field, bring it into different universities, organizations, companies. And it felt right to do the separation because even though there are some similarities, it is different from the clinical realm versus more of that wellness, creative realm right there.
That makes sense to me. And
Mhm.
one of your talks is about quiet to bold. What does that journey look like?
Mhm. So in that talk specifically,
Mhm.
I chat about my story of how I would have never been able to have this podcast with you years ago because I was so anxious, I was so fearful, I was so quiet. So even being on here today is a step in that right direction. So I talk about too how a lot of these leaders, teachers can kind of make or break some situations with students. And there were a lot of situations where people would talk down to me, right? These specific teachers and everything. And that really stuck with me. And also just being very anxious and fearful, I would shy away from a lot of things until something clicked. I started getting into my own services, right? Started connecting with other people, had more of that awareness of this is not sustainable. This is not okay. And started making those shifts and now claiming that space, right? Being authentic with myself, having more of that acceptance of this is who I am and I'm okay with that. And just allowing myself to be me, be heard, right? Meet all these creative people, these awesome people and living life. So that's really kind of where quiet to bold is of not living life versus, okay, here I am and I'm ready to experience what life has to offer. Doesn't mean it's not scary, but I do it scared, right? And then we just see what happens, right? I
Yeah.
go roll with it.
I love it. That's really,
Hmm.
really fantastic. I love that talk, and it seems like you've got the right approach.
Hmm.
So I've really enjoyed this. This has been a lot of fun. Now, I will tell you, I do love good food. I think that is my weakness, is really good food. And I am actually originally from the New York area. I was born in
Okay.
Manhattan in New York City, and I get back to town very often. So the next time I find myself in Bordentown, New
Yes,
Jersey,
yes.
where should I be going for a great meal in town?
Yeah, very small town over here,
Hmm.
but in the city, I would say a lot of people, me included, love Marcello's and love Old Town Pub. So a
Hmm.
lot of people will like come to the city just to come to Marcello's and everything.
Yep.
But those two restaurants, I would say, phenomenal. But I do want to add, if you are a coffee drinker, tea drinker, go to Turtle Beans Coffee. Amazing people. They give so much to the community, huge mental health advocates. Steven, the owner, is just a wonderful person. So check them out. Even like the college students who are around, check it out. I think you'll have a great time. And it's just good vibes in
Yeah.
the coffee shop. It's great.
Turtle
Mhm.
Beans Coffee. Go and
Yes.
check it out. And I love that they have that mental health component.
Yeah.
Anytime I can go and get something that I want anyway, like food or coffee,
Yes.
and they're doing good things with the profits from the
Yes.
business, I will support that to the end of the earth. So I
Mhm.
think that's wonderful that Stephen is doing that kind of work. I think
Yes.
that's absolutely fantastic. All right.
Mhm.
So where can students go in order to connect with you and also to invite you to speak on their college campus?
Yes, I would love to do more speaking opportunities. So they can check me out on abstractandaligned.com. I'm on Instagram a lot, so abstract and aligned is my Instagram handle, and they can just reach out through email if they want to message me on there. They can through Instagram. And if you have any listeners who are in New Jersey or are in Florida and they're looking for more of that mental health support, they can reach out lilycounselingandarttherapy.com. I also have an Instagram for that page too. And again, would love the opportunity to support whoever wants to reach out.
Yeah, I love the work you're doing, Lindsay. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It's very, very needed. And I
Mhm.
love the art therapy component. I think this is something that college students are going to absolutely love. So thank you for what you do. It's really important. I just want to say I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, definitely needed. We need more conversations about this, about advocating for mental health and doing what's right for us. All right, going
Totally.
out there and giving it a shot, trying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree. All right. So, to our listeners, if you learned something today, please share this episode with your chapter. Just throw it in a group chat or share it on social media. You never know who needs to hear Lindsay's message today. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.